Timer says it is 7 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Move one thing out of my way so I can see. I want to tell you guys a little bit about me. I have been in the restaurant industry since 1977, so it's about 46 years total. I've worked for a whole bunch of different restaurants. I've been a corporate trainer. I'm the guy that would go around and inspect restaurants as well and make people mad when they didn't do things the way they were supposed to do. I also owned my own restaurant and all those different vending venues that you see there. I had a hot dog cart, had a hot dog trailer. We also had a little boat that we did cruises on, served dinner on those. So I've done a lot of different things when it comes to running my own vending business. And of course, I have written 4 different books on the subject. So far, we have covered the legal side of owning a food truck. We've covered the numbers pertinent to food trucks, the partners that you need, and then where you're going to be setting up so that you can start to make money. So today, we're going to be talking about the equipment. So before I start into the presentation, anybody that's already got a food truck or has a dream of what they want their food truck to be like, I would be very happy if you would share what you want in your food truck, what the layout's going to be, kind of paint us a picture of what your ideal food truck would be. Because during this presentation, I'm going to show you one of the food trucks that we had, or one of the layouts for the food trucks we had way back when. But if you'd like to share, just unmute yourself and just start out of talking.
Hey, Bill, this is Ricky. I'll share. This is our first year.
Okay.
We delayed due to COVID. We were supposed to launch in 2020, spring of 2020. So we work with the builders. So when you first walk in, we have a 4-burner stovetop. Then we have a flat top, charcoal grill, 2 fryers.
Okay.
We were originally supposed to have a small steam table, but that didn't work out due to the builder. Another topic. So what I did was install a stainless steel table there and have one of those small steamers with the 3 compartments. And then from there, along the back of where the passenger seats, we have a 3-compartment sink and a hand washing sink. And then coming along the serving window, we have a serving window. Then we have a under counter freezer, a bain marie, and then we have a refrigerator, and then you're out the door.
And how big of a truck is this? The kitchen area?
It's a 20-foot.
20 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, 18 to 20 foot seems to be about the optimum for the type of equipment you have. So that's awesome. It sounds great.
Yeah,
Definitely share
like
some pictures.
Yes, I will. I'll put some in the group.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Mike, you got your hand up. What would you like to say?
Hi, how you doing tonight?
I'm good.
We're just sorry, I went to the dentist earlier, so I might be a little slurry.
It's okay.
So we're kind of in the infancy stage, but we're looking at like a possible like a 60-foot double oven with a 4-foot grill on top and 2 burners. I think I can get the most out of that working wise.
Right.
Maybe a couple of double fryers, but to the right or left of it with the prep table there. And then maybe a 4-foot sandwich station behind me. And then we were looking at possibly like 2 separate windows we were thinking.
Right.
One for an order window and one for a pickup. So it gets the flow a little bit better. Of course, you got to have your 3-bay sink and your hand sink and all that stuff. And possibly we're thinking of charbroiler in there for like grilling vegetables and of course burgers and chicken and stuff like that.
And how big are you imagining the cooking area for this going to be?
About 20 foot. That's what we're looking at, trying to fit everything in. Looking at like a possible 10-foot hood to get all the equipment that I'm thinking about putting in there. That's probably about all, and you got to have your prep tables and everything else like that in there. So gotta try and find room for everything, especially shelving.
Yeah, that does become a challenge because we have to use every cubic inch of space we have on a food truck. So
That's
the
one of my
amount of,
first, sorry, go
no,
ahead.
no, no. I was just gonna say the amount of equipment that you're wanting to put in there, 20 foot's gonna be tight,
Mhm.
especially with a 48-inch prep table.
Well, it's always, Brett, we can always, make it smaller,
Right,
kind of like double duty, because I know there's some sinks that you can make and put a cutting board on top of it.
right,
So you get an extra prep table right there. And cleanup is really easy, just like kind of right next to it. You're all set to go.
right, exactly. The challenge is gonna be with a 48-inch prep table is getting it to fit somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
because the wheel wells will be in your way. Unless you
And
get
well,
one that's only 7 foot wide, and then you don't have to worry about the wheel wells.
yeah, that's gonna be one of the, when we get a little more advanced to see what we can actually do to it.
Yeah.
That's, at least I have, if I can get a 3-foot area prep and maybe some place to put like a steam table to keep stuff hot while using it. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out as we go.
Oh yeah, that's the fun part, is figuring it out, because we laid ours out many, many times, and then we'd go, oh, crap, this won't work, and then have to remove everything. So yeah, this is the exciting time. Enjoy it.
It's a
Enjoy
little
it.
bit stressful, but it is very exciting.
Oh yeah, you got a good mix there.
Oh,
There's
thank
going
you.
to be some things that are stressful for sure, but just enjoy the steps in the process, because that's what it's all about. It's just having a whole bunch of fun with it, making a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, every day it gets a little bit more exciting too, because it seems like it's getting closer and closer.
Right.
So that's what makes it the little bit, what are we gonna do tomorrow about it?
No, absolutely. It becomes more real when you start to see it, and then you actually have to start rearranging the equipment and realizing that, oh crap, this doesn't work the way we thought it would.
Right.
But anyway, thank you so much for sharing with me tonight. I'm going to go
Oh,
ahead
thank
and
you.
jump into the presentation,
All
and then
right,
we'll be able to
thank you.
chat a whole bunch more later. Oh, you're very welcome. All right. So we're talking about the equipment. The very first thing that I really want to stress to everybody, and it's not just in this presentation, but when I talk to people in general, it's real easy to go out and buy a food truck. Now, I know it does cost a bunch of money, but it's easy because if you got the money, no one's telling you no. You go to apply for a food license, they could tell you no because you haven't met whatever the requirements are. But when it comes to buying a piece of equipment, that's the easy part. So people tend to do that first and then try to figure out what to do with it. Now, you notice that the things that I've talked about so far, the equipment is the fifth thing. There's 4 other things that we want to get out of the way. So that's why equipment is where it is. Once we've gotten those 4 other things out of the way, then we stand a reasonable chance of, when we buy that equipment, number one, to get it in use as quickly as possible. And then we stand a really good chance of being profitable. So I want to stress that your equipment, the truck or the trailer or the hot dog cart, it's a piece of equipment, and that's all that it is. It's an asset. It is not a business. When you go to see somebody that's selling a used trailer, used food cart, or used truck, they're going to say, this was such a great money maker. You will make $1 million. No, you won't, because it's a piece of equipment. It has no personality. It's not generating sales on its own. If it was, it would just be standing there making money all day long without someone on it. The person that's on it is the one that makes the money. The recipes, the personality of the serving staff, the leadership ability of whoever owns the food truck is what makes it a business. And that's when you go to buy a used piece of equipment, you're not buying those services. All you're doing is buying an asset. So we don't want that asset to sit idly in the driveway while we try to figure out how to use the thing. The second thing I have listed there is I want you to create an equipment manual. So at the point that you decide that you're in the dream stage, you're going to build out the perfect piece of equipment, you can start downloading the equipment manuals for all of those different pieces of equipment you want on your food truck or food trailer. The ones you've heard the folks talking about just a few minutes ago, download those manuals. You know, what type of wattage does it take? What type of power does it take? Is it propane? How long does it, or how long, you know, exactly how big it is? What's the width? What's the depth? Certain pieces of equipment don't fit as easily on a food truck as we would like them to. I'm working with one gentleman that wants a 2-wide refrigerator, which is awesome. But as you go wider, refrigerators tend to go taller too. And the one that he wanted wouldn't fit on his trailer because the ceiling was too low. So you have to think about all of those things. So downloading those specs and seeing exactly what it takes helps. Plus, if you end up getting that particular piece of equipment, now you're familiar with it, and you're familiar not only with, you know, its size and what kind of power it needs, but you also probably read through to see what the troubleshooting is, what the maintenance calendar looks like, because all pieces of equipment have to be maintained. You just don't buy them and then wear them out and throw them away. You want them to last many, many years, so you have to maintain them. So you want to have a maintenance calendar that reminds you that, you know, every quarter I have to clean the condensers on the refrigeration system. You know, every month I want to grease the hubs on the wheel axles. All of those things. You know, if you have a fan belt driven hood, when are you going to be changing out the fan belts? You know, the trailer or the truck itself, if it's got any piercing through the roof, you're going to have to change the caulking or the molding that goes around those things to stop it from leaking, because the sun beating down on it every day is going to dry it out and cause it to crack, and then it's going to leak. So you have to get up there and maintain that stuff. So you want to create that calendar and have that equipment manual, so you have a single place to go turn and look to see what you need to do for all your different pieces of equipment. Where I'm talking about self-sufficiency and power consumption, we're talking about the trailer, the truck itself. Self-sufficient, that definition varies from state to state. In Florida, all you have to do to be self-sufficient is have the right refrigeration that's powered all the time that you're going to be having food inside of it. So it's pretty easy. You have to have a triple sink and a hand wash sink. Other states, they have a little bit more requirements. They may want you to have a mop sink in the floor. I saw somebody today had to install a mop sink to meet that self-sufficiency requirement. But your goal should be to make the truck as self-sufficient as possible, so you're not depending upon a commissary, or you're not depending upon having to go somewhere else to do food prep. So the goal should be self-sufficiency, whatever your state requires. And then you also got to be concerned about your power consumption. It's not only the propane and how much propane you're going to need or go through, but the generator you need. Food truck owners tend to spend a whole bunch of money and then realize that, oh, I don't have enough to buy something, and then they cheap out somewhere. And a lot of times the generator is one of the last things that they buy, and that becomes the thing they cheap out on. They look at price rather than what do I need to operate my business successfully. We talk a lot about Predators, the generator brand Predator, and the 9500, which is an inverter generator. And what that means is it's designed to run a little bit quieter, and it gives out a more stable power sine wave. And that becomes really important on a piece of equipment that has a computer inside of it. If you get just a regular old generator, the ones that sound like you're sitting on top of a riding lawnmower, that one doesn't put out a pure energy wave. And that vacillation in the energy wave can create some problems for delicate pieces of computer software, computer parts. And you might be thinking, well, Bill, I'm not going to have my laptop on the trailer. Your refrigerator probably has got a computer in it. Your freezer probably has a computer in it. It's got some type of computer board that is going to be sensitive to those spikes or those peaks and valleys in the power that's coming into your trailer. So you want to have somewhere in between your generator and the equipment, you want to have some type of surge protection. One of the folks on our group lost a refrigerator and a freezer, or maybe it's 2 refrigerators, but they lost 2 pieces of equipment to a power surge. And it was a power surge where they were just plugging in. They were thankful they didn't have to use a generator. And when they plugged in, it damaged those 2 pieces of equipment. So understand your power consumption, and always, as much as possible, try to protect yourself, surge protectors especially. When it comes to your wattage, make sure you have more available power than what you think you need. If you add everything up and you're 100% sure you need 8,500 watts, get yourself 12,000. Just make your life easy, because I guarantee you, you've forgotten something. Or you may get into operation and realize you need something you never ever thought of. Everything that you put on that truck is going to take up power, from the POS system to the printer to anything that you put on there, not only cooking, but everything, your lights. If you decide that you're going to have all fancy dancing lights and stuff outside and they're not solar powered, they are getting electricity from your generator in some way. So my best recommendation is to get a bigger generator than you really think you need, because I promise you, you will grow into it. All right, so we're going to talk about workflow on equipment. This is a truck that we had a long, long time ago. It's an 18-foot cooking area. I believe that's the 18 one. That might be 20, but in either case, this is what you want to think about it when you're in that planning stage. Where is stuff going to go? What makes sense as far as the workflow? And just like it says up here, you want the food to move, and you want that food to move in one direction. The employees, as much as possible, should only move side to side. They should not be crossing, going back and forth, front to back on the trailer. They should go from one end to the other rather than doing this kind of a motion. Because when one's going this way and this one has to go back, they're probably running into each other, and that's not a good thing. So in this particular setup, it has 2 reach-in coolers. It's got a freezer and a refrigerator. Then it's got a grill, fryers, a dump station. This is one of the pieces of equipment no one ever thinks about. They put in 2 or 3 fryers and have nowhere to land the food that they're frying. So now you're trying to handle a basket while you're trying to dump it into a bowl that you're holding in your hand and hoping that you're not splattering grease all up and down your arm. You need to have a place to land the fried food. Make it safe on yourself. Doesn't mean you have to hold it there, but it just means you got a place to land it. You know, if you're cooking to order, that's not a problem. You don't need a heated fry dump station, but you could use one, but you got to have some place to land that food. So in this particular case, you see it's set up for 2 employees. 2 employees handles between 10 to 25 guests an hour for the particular menu that we had, and that was burgers and fries. We weren't trying to be super complicated. That's what you see here is a pan full of burgers. With 2 people working, this dude did all the cooking and he went side to side. That's all that he did. If this guy was engaged taking an order, this is the order taking area, and he got all the food ready, he would just step right here and hand it out. Rather than set it here and go, hey, cashier, we got food to hand out. You get the food off the truck as quick as you can. But all he had to do was go side to side. This person here, if he had no one to wait on, was stepping down here to get ready to hand the food out. When we added on a 3rd person, they had a specific place they would be, and it was usually right here. So this guy would cook the meat, hand it down. This guy did all the dressing and then passing it out. Same deal. If these 2 guys were making food and this one had nothing to wait on, he's handing the food out, or she's handing the food out. The idea is that each employee knows where they're supposed to work, knows what they're supposed to do when they don't have a guest to take care of. We'll talk about this more in a little bit. They have to have those, what we call a primary position, which is cashier, expediter, cashier here, expediter over here. And the secondary position is if this dude is down here dressing a sandwich and we need to get some meat cooking, he goes ahead and gets the meat started. Hand wash sinks right there, washes his hands, get the food going down and get it started while this guy finishes out an order. This is teamwork, but they have to know what the secondary position is. They have to know what they're supposed to do when they don't have someone else that needs to be waited on in the primary. position. This helps everybody know what to do, and you don't have the little cluster that they talk about. We're all gathered around trying to do the exact same thing and no one's getting anything done. So the key points here: food moves, the employees do not. And if we do move, it's always in one direction. So you see the food starts here, ends up here. Set your food truck up to do that. If it's in a U shape, or even if it's in a circle, and you could start here and go all the way around if you had to, but move the food in one direction. Every side to side motion, number one, is a waste of time. And number two, it is a wear and tear on your body. When your body starts to get tired, you start making dumb mistakes, and you're not as happy and outgoing and as friendly as you should be when you're interacting with the guests that come to your trailer. So make your life as easy as possible. And we even had it down to, we had the food in order for dressing our buns in the exact order that we wanted it in these pans. So there was no moving of side to side in the pans. We went front to back, and then back to front, and then front to back, and it was dressed. If they didn't want something on it, we just skipped over that pan. It was all in one motion so we could get it done. Now, the second thing that I've got here listed is labor. How many people do you really need? Think about productivity. The goal that I have written up here for 2 employees was we needed to have at least 10 guests an hour. Now, that's not 10 tickets, okay? There is a difference between a guest count and a ticket count. A guest count is human beings eating your food. So you could have a family of 4, that's 4 guests. They could be on one ticket. So there is a difference. You want a guest count. So if you have a family of 10 that comes up, that's 1 ticket perhaps, but it is 10 guests. And that's important to you because we got to serve people. We don't serve tickets, we serve people. So we can handle 10 people, whether it's one family of 10 or 10 individual guys, doesn't matter. 10 people, that's 2 employees. If I'm doing less than 10 people, I don't need 2 employees, because that means the pace of the rush hour, the pace of the hour at 10 people is 1 person every 6 minutes. That's kind of leisurely. That is literally cooking the burger, getting it all the way done, getting it dressed and getting it out, and then taking another order. That's 6 minutes. That is not busy. 1 person can do that. Your menu may require 5 people before you need that second person. Or your menu could be so complex that you need 2 people every second that you're open. But you need to establish what that number looks like. Do I really need 2 people every single second that I'm open? Most food trucks do not. They start out with a rolling rush, which means it's very slow. It's a little bit busier, then a little bit busier, and then it gets really busy. So they wasted time during that roll before they actually got started. So they wasted, $15. You're paying somebody $15 an hour, and you don't need them there that first hour. What we find is when we open up, we have a whole bunch of people working. So when we actually opened up this trailer, we had 5 people on it. We had these 2, we had 1 here or 2 here, 1 on each side, and then we had somebody outside that was taking orders. And we kept them all busy. But eventually, once you get past that rush, you don't need 5 people. So somebody's got to go home. 2 people may go home. And it could be that 2 months down the road, once you get good at what you're doing, you don't need 5 people anyway, even though the sales are there. But the people on the truck have become so productive, they don't need 5 people. So you drop down to 4. Where this becomes a challenge, and that's why I have the word really, do you really need them, is psychologically, when we open up with whatever the number is, we expect that to be the number we need all the time. We can't operate with less than this because this is what it takes. But that's not true. I've opened up a number of restaurants, and we'll have people literally doing one single job, wiping trays. It's all they do for 8 hours is wipe trays. Eventually, you don't need somebody standing and wiping trays for 8 hours, but you feel like you need that person because now who's going to do the trays? Who's going to wipe the trays? So the other employees had to pick up that lost position, because you didn't need it to begin with, but because you wanted to impress people, you had everybody on you possibly could. So you got to make that tough decision. Do I really need 2 people every single minute that I'm open? When do I need the second person? When do I need the third person? And then you figure out how to make it work. You don't want to damage your business, but you don't want to damage your bank account either. The last thing I'm going to talk about is training. So you bought equipment and you got it all laid out perfect, and you've got your dream equipment exactly where you wanted it. You bought the right size equipment, so you got room to work side to side. We got to train people on the things I've been talking about. You know, what does one person do? What does 2 people do? What's the secondary position? What's the primary position? You know, who does what when it's busy? What does the third person do? Where do they work? What are those particular details for that job? So you have to train your employees. I know it's hard to hire people, but I'm going to tell you, it was hard in 1977. It was hard in 1986. It was hard in 1998. It is no different. No different. It was actually more difficult earlier, especially when we came out of the recession in the late 70s, because everybody was working. Nobody needed a fast food job because they could make a whole bunch of money working other places. Fast food was still paying, you know, minimum wage to start, because it's always been intended to be a beginning job. It's never been intended like it is nowadays to support a family. It's a job for teenagers, for them to learn necessary skills to be able to be a productive member of society. But it's been just as difficult to hire over the decades. But you got to hire people. You got to train the people once you hire them. I was talking to a lady earlier today that was talking about, she hired 2 cooks, and she said they're awesome, but they want to do things their way. They didn't want to listen to her. They didn't want to listen because they thought they had more experience. They were older than her. They know everything. You have to train people. This is how I want things done. This is how I want my burgers done. This is how I want the fries done. Whatever your menu is, this is how I want it done in my business. Can you conform to the needs of this business? If you cannot, there's the door, and you're more than welcome to use it. Training is a very specific mindset. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to look at STAR, S-T-A-R. You're going to create a STAR. S is show them, and you show them in real time. So if I'm dressing a burger and I'm showing somebody how I want a burger dressed, I'm doing it in about 13 seconds, because that's the real time it takes for me to do a burger. They're being shown exactly what to do in real time. Then I'm going to tell them what to do. So now I'm going to break it down into each step. This is the crown. I put on this amount of mayonnaise. I do it in one swipe. I pick up this amount of lettuce. This is how wide I hold my fingers to pick up that amount of lettuce. It goes on the crown. I pick up 2 tomatoes. They are laid side by side on the crown. I lay the crown down, then I pick up the heel of the bun that has the meat on it with the cheese. Then I'm putting 3 rings of ketchup, 2 rings of mustard. I'm putting 4 onions, and the onions should be spread out. I'm putting 4 pickles that should be spread out as well. Then I pick up the tomatoes and the crown and flip it over on top, and I wrap it. And I'm telling them just like that. I'm telling them every little pointer so that they know exactly how to do what I did earlier in real time. Then I'm going to allow them to try it, and I'm going to redirect them. Okay, remember, you pull the bun down, you put the mayonnaise on first, and I'm going to remind them of each and every step. And then I'm going to let them continue to try. That's what the A is, allow them to try. And I'm going to let them practice it. And I'm going to do the R, which is redirect them. Whenever they make a mistake, you know, the ketchup goes on the heel on top of the cheese. It doesn't go on the crown. Those kind of things. I'm going to give them redirection so that they can get good at what I showed them I wanted them to do. And you allow them time to get good. One of the stories that I always share with everybody when we're doing this presentation is I started, as I mentioned, in 1977. I was 18 years old, fresh out of college, or actually in college. I used my income at the restaurant to pay for me to go to college. And yes, I got a college degree. It's amazing. But anyway, I worked at a restaurant. It was called Rack's Restaurants. They sold roast beef sandwiches. The primary position that everybody wanted to work was the one where we got to do the slicer, and it goes back and forth, and we would weigh the meat, put it on a steamer, put it on a bun, wrap it, and send it out. If you were really, really good at it, the managers wanted you to be there because you could put out a whole bunch of sandwiches, pretty quickly. But you had to be really, really good, and you had to be super careful because it was a power-driven knife, and that knife was razor sharp. Because we're slicing beef very, very thinly. It took me a long time to be able to work up to that position, and they would let me work it. There was a Friday night that came around. It was super busy. We had lines because we had 3 registers across the front plus a drive-through. So and each register had 2 drawers. So there's a potential of 7 people standing up there taking orders, and then the drive-through going off. And we didn't have screens. We didn't have tickets. It was all verbal. So poor old Bill had to remember 7 different sets of people calling out sandwiches for me to make. Luckily, the sandwiches were easy to remember, but you had to make a bunch of them. And I do mean a literal bunch. Friday night, 6 o'clock, lines everywhere. The manager comes up to me and says, "Hey, Bill, would you go out and sweep the parking lot?" And I'm still fairly new, but I'm pretty sure you don't send somebody out to pick up the parking lot when you got people lined up everywhere. So I go get the broom and dustpan, and I walk out and start sweeping the parking lot. So when I come back in from sweeping the parking lot, he's replaced me with a girl. Now I'm 18 years old, like I said, and I got replaced with a very attractive girl I had a big crush on, and she was putting out sandwiches probably 3 times faster than I could. Now, my ego's totally crushed, absolutely crushed. And so I stepped up to take my station back over, and she said, "No, they want you to do fries." Now, fries was the bottom of the barrel. All you did was put them in a basket, drop them, timer goes off, pick them up, salt them. That's it. That's all you had to do. That was my job on a Friday night. I was totally crushed. So about 2 months later, I'm sitting down in the dining room talking to the manager, and she goes, "You almost lost your job." And I'm like, "I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I was a model employee. I did everything they asked, no back talk, no nothing." And she goes, "Well, you were so slow." I said, "But I always tried really hard." She goes, "You were so slow. We all thought you were on drugs. We didn't think any human being could go that slow and not be on drugs." I was crushed. But I learned from that point that what I thought was good wasn't good. I needed to get better. And so now I analyze the crap out of everything I do to make sure that what I think is good really is good. You have to teach your employees what good is. So when you show them in real time, they know what the standard is. Then you tell them step by step, and you show them. You allow them to try it. You redirect them. You help them to get good. That's your job. You want to have the busiest food truck in your neighborhood. Your job is to train the people on how to do it. That's your job. You don't have to be the grill cook. You don't have to be the dude that's carrying the whole weight of the truck on his shoulders. You want to teach them how to do it so they become valuable employees to you and learn some skills that might help them in the future when they go out to make bigger and better money. Because we don't want them to work for us forever. Now, this next thing I have written here is what you do when you are not busy. So in the example we had where we had 2 employees and the one wasn't taking an order, he had no one to wait on, he had a secondary position to go help. And that's what help is. Go help somebody else. You want to get all the food off the truck. If there's still no one to wait on, you want to stock. You want to teach those employees, you're going to stock. You're going to get ready for the next rush. We're not going to be caught with our pants down and we have no Cans of lettuce filled up because we were too lazy and thought it was more fun to get on the phone and go through social media than it was to actually restock. So we're going to restock. If you still have no guests to take care of, you're going to clean up the messes you made, sweep the floor, sweep around the parking lot where your food truck is sitting. Let people know that you have a standard of cleanliness. If at that point, after those 3 things are done, you still have no new guests, that means you got a problem. You've gone several minutes with no new guests. You need to market. Send an employee out to start waving at people. Send an employee out with a sign, let him spin the sign around. Cut up a sandwich, cut up a taco, send it out to some people and get your food being sampled. Do something to get attention drawn to your business, and you get more people coming in. You cannot do this and sit there looking out the window like you have absolutely no friends in the world. You cannot do that. You can't pick up your phone and start scrolling through, going, oh, look, I'm going to see what's funny on social media and I'm going to share this meme. That does exactly nothing for your business. If you got time to be on the social media, it better be your business social media telling people, hey, we're still open 2 more hours, come on down. But if you find yourself scrolling and surfing, you might as well just go ahead and close now. Save yourself the labor that you're burning. So help, stock, clean, and market. Those are the things you got to do so that you can keep that piece of equipment, that asset, busy. That's all that it is as an asset. You spent thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars on that equipment. It needs to be used. It needs to be used to the point where you're wearing it out. Because if you can wear it out, then you can buy more. I'm not saying abuse it. There is a difference. Some equipment will literally wear out. The gears on bun toasters, for instance, those things are workhorses, but the gears do wear out. And you can replace the gears. The same with the hood system. If you're open lots of hours, you're eventually going to wear out that motor. It's going to have to be replaced. But that's a good thing if you're open that much to where it wears out a motor, then yeah, that's a good thing. But you don't want to sit and let it run idly when you're not busy. You got to market. Got to market. So take care of your equipment because it will take care of you. And the equipment, taking care of the equipment starts with training yourself and training your employees.